Okay, well, thanks so much for the opportunity to be with you here today and the opportunity to share. I'm going to share something that is really important to me. And I think, it may even end up being quite important to you. And it's this whole idea as we are navigating not only COVID-19, I think what is important to take note of is that we're actually navigating what I'm kind of calling relentless transition, right? If you think about it, I mean, almost everything has changed, right? If you're in the business world, and I know you all are, we have seen everything from strategic planning to financial planning to employment. All of these things have changed to employees, to customers, to our marketing, to our social media. I think tragically, we've also seen the tone and the tenor of our public discourse sort of change. And that's not completely been for the good by any means. And even the workplace itself in terms of location and paradigms and some of the norms that took many of us a long time to get used to, and all of that in the last year and a half, 2 years has shifted tremendously. And here's the reality, folks, that all of this change absolutely impacts our mental health. It was like literally just 2 days ago that I was flipping through the Calgary Herald on my phone, and I saw this headline that said that Albertans say their mental health has worsened due to finances, job security. And that was according to this survey. And then I went into it a little bit further, and it said that Albertans, that's you and me, were significantly more likely than other Canadians to feel that their mental health has worsened due to their financial situation. And this survey, it was called The Social Determinants of Mental Health by Angus Reid. And they found that 53% of Alberta respondents, that's over half of us, linked declining personal mental health to tightening finances. And the national rate was 40%. Now, the national rate is high. So 40% of Canadians feel like their mental health is getting worse due to their finances. But in Alberta, that number is 53%. And then they went on, and in the survey, we found out that it was even more, that about 53% of Alberta residents linked it, and then 47% reported that their mental health was negatively affected by job security. 32% were stressed out about their housing. 55% of Albertans were stressed and have negative mental health impact due to household expenses, and about 42% due to consumer debt payments. And then, as a parent myself of three lovely kids, most of the time, 81% of Alberta parents were trying to shield their children from any financial or mental stress due to the pandemic, as we all are. And so when you read those sorts of numbers and you start to think about what we're facing right now, I've said it since actually about April of 2020, we're facing two pandemics. The first is obviously the COVID-19. But I think we're also facing this mental health pandemic, and all of you who are in business, you get this as well, or even better than I would. And that's because if COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's this old saying that the only constant is change. Now, we know that that's always been true. And there's no doubt that the pandemic, though, has brought all of that reality into sharper focus than ever before. And so I think the question is, as business owners, as operators, as organizational leaders, as executives, how can we not only survive, but thrive? And what I want to share with you here today is some actionable strategies for navigating relentless transition, both now and into the future, because we don't know what the future will hold. Now, you've all heard this proverb, it's on the screen: you can't tame the wind, but you can turn your sail. And now the truth is, you can spend, and I can spend, a ton of time seeking to tame the wind, only to realize that the wind is more relentless than you or I. It's more powerful than we are. It makes a lot more sense to think about turning our sails rather than turning the wind. And so as a coach, one of the mental fitness principles, and I like that term better than mental health, because I find mental health has become so broad. And though we're trying so hard to destigmatize it by using it so much, I think in a lot of society incorrectly, we're almost re-stigmatizing it again, tragically. And so I like to think of it as mental fitness. And that's because mental fitness is one of those things I can impact. I can work on my mental fitness. I can improve my mental fitness. That's on me. And so as a coach, one of the mental fitness principles I teach my team and my clients is controlling the controllables. Now, controlling the controllables is a critical ethos of high performers. In sports, athletes, they have limited amounts of physical and emotional energy. And so wasting time and energy on things they have no control over is a recipe for losing. And in business, organizational leaders, well, hey, we've got finite resources to pursue our objectives. And so we need to be skilled in how we allocate our resources, our mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual resources. I'll tell you what, if we empty our container of mental and emotional energy on the things we can't control, we're not going to have anything left for the things that we can control. And now every one of us has been impacted by this pandemic, and we've been impacted by the post-pandemic, and then we're back in the pandemic. And now, are we over the pandemic or not? I mean, it's changing every day, and we've all had our different experience of a very tragic situation that has hit all of us. But here's the thing: we can't lose our sense of empowerment by complaining over the things that we can't control. We need to simply focus on the things that we can. We can't tame the wind. But I'll tell you what, we can turn our sails. And so I want to share with you 10 things that we can always control. And it might seem a little bit crazy, because if you're like me, I'm sitting here right now and I'm thinking there's so much I can't control. Can't control the economy, can't control COVID, can't control government policy, can't control my customers, can't control, my prospective clients. I can't control sometimes even my own employees, right? But in the middle of all the things I can't control are things that I always can. And these are the things that I really want to encourage you to think about here tonight. The first thing that we can always control is our readiness, I can't control the wind, but I can control my preparation. Wisdom says that we need to prepare for the storms which may yet come. I'll tell you what, the depth of our preparation so often determines the height of our destiny. And I think that as business owners and operators, I know for us in our business, we've taken advantage of the pandemic as much as we can, probably like you. We've had to struggle to keep our head above water, that's for sure. But we've taken advantage of the pandemic and used it as an opportunity to retool parts of our business that weren't working very well. There's been some shift in staff, but there's also been shift in strategic planning. There's been shift even in down to branding and marketing, down to the problems that we're trying to solve and who the customers are that we're seeking to solve them for. So all of that's on me as a business owner. I can't sit there and blame that on Jason Kenney. I can't blame that on COVID-19. I can't blame that on Justin Trudeau. I have to own my preparation. I have to recognize that storms, navigating storms, that's a part of leadership. That's part of the calling that we have as leaders. That's part of the high sort of responsibility that we all have. And so we need to prepare by getting ready. I think the second thing that we can always control is our relationships. Here's the thing, folks. Storms are not meant to be endured alone. You're out here on a Tuesday night listening into, this webinar here in Mental Health Week. And what you're saying by doing that is you're saying, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to face this storm alone. Actually, here's what I've discovered. The lonelier the storm, the worse the outcome. What we've got to do is not, do this sort of Lone Ranger, I've got this all by myself kind of mentality. We've got to surround ourselves with a team of support. We've got to be a team of support for the people that we care about, but we've also got to surround ourselves with that. And, so much of that is being vulnerable, right? Being authentic, talking about some of the challenges that you have, some of the struggles that you have. Here's a great question to ask. Are the relationships in your life, I'm not talking about your family relationships because you can't control all of those, that's for sure. But they're outside of that, the relationships that you have a huge degree of choice in. Are they feeding your spirit? Are they nurturing your mind? Are they helping you and innovating in terms of creativity and in terms of brainstorming? And are you doing that for them? Tell you what, those are the kinds of relationships that are going to impact your mental health positively. The third thing that we can always control is our reactions or our attitude. Now, I want to talk about this for a moment because, we all know the saying that our attitude determines our altitude. And that sounds a little cheesy. It sounds a little cheap. It sounds like a slogan. But, here's the thing. It's true. As a matter of fact, Hans Selye, who was like the sort of the father, he's called, of stress theory. We all hear a lot about stress today. Well, he's sort of the guy who was the first one to go out there on a limb. And he was a massive pioneer in helping us to understand the health implications of stress. So what does stress do to your body? And, now, of course, that's all the rage. Everybody understands that really clearly. Here's what he said. He said, it's not the stress that kills us, but it's our reaction to it. And I just think that's so powerful. I'm going to say it again. It's not the stress that's going to kill you, because actually you're wired for resilience. I'll tell you what, you're so strong. There is so much capacity and strength in you. It's not so much the stress that's going to take us down, but it's the reaction that we have. It's the response that we have. And interestingly, when you think about it, that reaction that we have to stress really is within the zone of our control. The fourth thing that we can always control is our responsibility. Now, what I want to kind of put a different spin on this, because I think I'm talking to a group of people who's already high responsibility people. So sometimes when I give this talk, you're giving it to people who are, maybe not taking the responsibility that they should. And I think that probably you guys are the exact opposite. You probably are taking on way too much. And so when I ask you to think about, number 4, what you can control in terms of responsibility, I want you to think about this, especially as a business owner. I know as business owners and as business leaders, managers, executive directors, all of it, we have a to-do list, right? It's like relentless. But what about a not to-do list? What about taking a stock of all the things you shouldn't be doing? I think this is so important, right? Don't take responsibility for things that you shouldn't be taking responsibility for, because if you do, that will impact your mental health. I know for me, I love to help people. And, maybe in some senses that's a nice thing, but it's a hurtful thing, because often I find myself taking responsibility for people, wanting to help them maybe a little too much, if that makes sense. And what I have to do is back off a little bit and say, hey, I got to be responsible for me and the business that I'm running. I can't be responsible for them. Even if my heart is out there to help them and to support them, that is ultimately going to come back on me, perhaps in a way that's overwhelming. And I don't really want to be that guy who's taking on more than I should. I'm going to stay in my lane. And so I just encourage you to control your responsibility. In other words, don't have a sense of over responsibility. Number 5, the 5th thing I think that we can always control is our resourcefulness. Now, this has been one of the most testing times for Albertans who are in business. It is just profoundly challenging, because, we've relied so long on our resources, right? And we've had an abundance of resources. We have been so blessed in Alberta with natural resources that are profound. And I am not the guy, apologies if this is offensive to you, but I'm not the guy who believes dirty carbon. I think, this is a blessing. I think it's a gift. Now we need to burn it cleanly, and we need to figure out technology to do all of those things better. But I see it all as a gift, and it's a gift that needs to be stewarded. But here's the problem. The problem that we have right now is that those resources aren't getting to market the way we would like. And so what that is doing is challenging. And I know energy is just one example of that. I could go down the line in Alberta in a number of different areas where we're not seeing our resources, the talent, the capacity that we have get to market the way we want it to. So what does that do? That challenges us in the area of resourcefulness. I know in the last year and a half, to keep my team, my small team of 4 or 5 people going, and myself, and of course we have an international network, literally all over the world. And my resourcefulness has been challenged like it's never been challenged before. I have to say it's been fun. I've been grateful for it. But I'll tell you what, that constant sense, not for this idea of, oh, I just need more resources, because sometimes you're going to lack resources, but you can always manage and control your resourcefulness, right? It's not about the resources you have available. It's about the resourcefulness that you've got within you. That takes me to number 6. The 6th thing that we can always control, and I love this one. It's probably one of my favorite, because maybe like you, I tend to do the opposite of this. The 6th thing that I can always control and you can always control is our rest. Now, Ovid was a Roman poet, and he lived during the time of Caesar Augustus. So we're talking like 2,000 years ago. And around the time of Christ, he said this. He said, take rest. He said that a field that has rested gives a bountiful crop. Take rest. A field that has rested gives a bountiful crop. I love this. He reminds us that for millennia, right, before fertilizers and all of the stuff that we have now in terms of modern agriculture, which is awesome. But he reminds us that thousands of years ago, when they didn't have that, they would actually have to rest the ground. If I wanted more productivity, I needed to rest the earth and the soil in order to allow it to regenerate the minerals and all of the nutrients that are necessary to take my level of productivity where I want it to be. I think that a lot of the times when I look at my own productivity, I've often found myself trying to push myself harder. And that's been a problem because at the end of the day, it's not about pushing myself harder. Sometimes it's about resting. I'll tell you what, we all need to take time. We need to rest. We need to make sure that we build that into our calendar, and not just once in a while on like an annual vacation or a trip to the mountains, but as a regular part of our routine. Please, folks, control your rest, add to your rest. The seventh thing that we can always control, I like this one, is our radiance. I'll tell you, we all radiate or, sort of emit, I guess you could say. We shine out a certain energy or a certain vibe. And then what happens is we tend to receive from others what it is that we're radiating. And so, I always tell people, imagine what you want to receive from others and then radiate that. Because I think the law of sowing and reaping, this sort of thing about karma, it's kind of universal. And I think, today there is a lot of negativity, and it's easy to read the news and get more depressed than you already were, and then start radiating that, and it comes out in our verbal communication. It can come out in our nonverbal communication. It can come out in the energy or the vibe that we're giving off. And as a business leader, I'll tell you, one of the things our employees need from us, our team needs from us, is they need positivity. I'm not talking about just glib positive thinking, but they really need that solid sense of hope, because hope has been taken from so many people today. And us as leaders, we're in a position to radiate hope. We can control that. Number 8, and I just got 3 more. The 8th thing that you can always control is your mindset. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but the bottom line is, boy, our mindset determines so much about our lives. The 9th thing that we can always control is our mood. And, I think about mindset and mood almost interconnected. It's almost like if I get in a bad mood, that impacts my mindset. And if I have a healthy mindset, then I end up having a healthy mood. And so you want to pay a lot of attention to mindset and mood. The way I distinguish these is my mindset is what I'm thinking about. And then my mood is kind of like what I'm ruminating on. It's like what I'm feeling. And that's what I'm carrying emotionally. And a lot of the time we're hanging on to a lot of this negative energy. Sometimes it's stress, and sometimes it's sadness, and sometimes it's grief, and sometimes it's sorrow, and sometimes it's loss. Sometimes it's anger right now. Sometimes it's fear. And we should never, ever for 1 second feel ashamed of those emotions. But I'll tell you what, we need to find a way to release them in a safe way. We need to find some trusted friend or a journal or somewhere where we can express them, get sort of those negative emotions out, and then breathe in that positive and that healthy sort of mood that's going to be so helpful to us. The last thing that we can always control, and this one here is so powerful, and this is really an action item for you today. If there's anything that is a call to action, I would say it's this one, and this is your mantras. And the reason I say it's a call to action is because one of the best ways you can manage your life, but also your mindset and your mood, is by managing your mouth. It's by managing the things that you say. I'm sure you all know the story of Muhammad Ali, and he began calling himself the greatest before he ever actually had the right. So he wasn't actually the greatest, but it didn't stop him. He just used his mouth and he was calling himself the greatest. And when you've all heard this term mantra, well, it's actually a Sanskrit word. It comes from 2 words. The word man is the root word, and that means to think. So mantra, man is to think. And then the suffix, which is tra, is a tool. So think about this for a moment. A mantra is a thinking tool. It's a way that we shape our thinking. And, here's the truth, folks. Every one of us has mantras. Every single one of us. We have ways that our mouth is shaping our thinking. We have ways that by the words that we speak, we're releasing energy out there into the universe, and it's impacting literally how we think. And how we think, of course, impacts how we respond. And so we've all got mantras. The question is not, do we have them? The question is, are they positive? And I threw a couple of healthy mantras on the screen for you there. I think that these are some amazing mantras that can be so helpful to us. And I'm just going to throw them up there on the screen. You can see them. I'm not going to read them all to you, but a couple of them that really speak to me and I'll use to myself is, I'm comfortable in my own skin, even when I'm outside my comfort zone. That's often a mantra I say to myself because I find myself out of my comfort zone quite a bit. I like to put myself out there, out of my comfort zone. And so I want to repeat something to me that's healthy and that's happy and that's supportive. Another one is, I'm loving, I'm patient, I'm kind. That's one of my favorites because I need that reminder constantly. I like this next one. It's the one that I actually do use every day. And it's the longer one there, but nonetheless, it's been so helpful. I'm just going to read it. It says, in every situation today, I seek and find wisdom. Business leaders, we need that. I operate with humility. We need that. I live set apart for a cause, whatever your cause is. I create capacity. I attract abundance. I generate growth. I'm a money magnet, and blessing flows to me in order so that it can flow through me. And that's my mantra. It's what I'm reminding myself of all day long, because just like you, I got to chase after revenue. I got to make things happen. But I'll tell you, I'm not just trying to make money for the sake of making money, but I really want to be a blessing and a benefit to the people around me, to impact them in a positive way. And so I would really encourage you, when you think about moving forward from this little talk here today, how's your mantra doing? And could your mantra be tweaked? And so 10 things that we can always control. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this. You can see it on the screen: your readiness, your relationships, your reactions, your responsibility, your resourcefulness, your rest, your radiance, your mindset, your mood, and your mantras. And I just want to close with just one quick thing. Listen, mental fitness, it's complicated. We can help. And you say, well, who's the we? Well, I want to encourage you, one of the greatest programs in rural and southern Alberta is a program that is partially funded by the government of Alberta. It's called Headstrong. And it's in partnership with Baby It's Cold Outside Charitable Society, along with Wellness Innovate. And these two organizations have teamed up to provide some incredible mental health supports. There's group coaching, there's one-on-one coaching, there's training workshops, on all kinds of topics, from managing stress and anxiety to psychological safety in the workplace, to building healthy teams. And all of these we can offer to you, all of them at completely no cost. We can also get access to you or members of your team to certified registered psychologists at no cost. And this is a response of the province of Alberta to the increasing mental health needs of Albertans through this pandemic, and particularly the mental health needs of small business owners, and not just small, but medium-sized business as well, along with entrepreneurs and sort of solopreneurs. And if you fit into any of those categories and you're thinking, hey, I wouldn't mind some support, just email us at hello@headstrongprogram.com, and we'll get you hooked up with the right resources. So I hope that that's been helpful to you. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I'm not sure who I need to turn it back over to, but thank you. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to share with you today.